Hello friends, SentinalH here, and welcome back to our ChromatiCraft tutorial series. So in this episode, we're going to talk about two things that are a bit simpler and still quite useful. We're going to talk about the Ethereal barrier and something called defensive glass. Both of these are useful little utility items that you might, blocks that you might place in your base to help you defend you from monsters. And of course, in Revolution, defense from monsters, pretty important. So we'll start with the Ethereal barrier, which is quite interesting. The Ethereal barrier doesn't require this upper level casting table. It doesn't require these runes here on the ground. It's just a standard casting recipe. I don't know if it requires an upgraded table, which it might. It just doesn't require you to put any runes in a casting room. The recipe is a piston, an ender pearl, 2 lapis, 3 redstone, and 2 glowstone dust. And that gives you 9 ethereal barriers. So we'll take the elemental manipulator and we will right click in order to get ourselves the items. There we go, ethereal barriers. Now, I've placed some ethereal barriers over here. They place like glass. So, glass panes, I mean. So they sort of fill in gaps and connect together. Now, if you look, I can't walk through these, and it says no ID. And that's because the ethereal barriers, by default, will just block everything. You actually need an additional item in order to make proper use of these. And that item is crafted as well in the casting table with 3 iron, an ender pearl, and some redstone. I think I probably have this completely wrong. There it is. It's called the Ethereal Key. 3 iron ingots, an ender pearl in the upper left, a redstone in the bottom middle, and a lapis in the middle right will give you an ethereal key. So we'll craft this, and it has an ID number. So what we do is we hold shift and right click, I think, or we just right click. Okay, we just right click. And now the ethereal barrier can be opened and closed. If I read the chromatic lexicon entry for the ethereal key. No, I want to be in standard mode. Doors are useless without keys. Your ethereal barrier needs a key. After shift right clicking with the key on the door, you link the two, and now using the key will open the door. I wonder why it doesn't. It still says no ID. Like it hasn't picked up the ID from the key, but it still works. See, I can use the same key on multiple barriers. So when you right click it with the key, the barrier gets it gets insubstantial. It does close itself automatically though, which is nice. So you can use this basically in place of doors, or you can use this to lock off areas that are too large for standard doors. You know, you can place as many of these as you want, I believe, all in one piece, and then this key will just unlock all of them. So it's pretty neat. So you can block out 3x3 hallways or larger. I think it's cool. It's also not that expensive. You know, an ender pearl, a piston, and some lapis redstone and glowstone. It's not that hard to get. So that's the ethereal barrier. Pretty cool. Obviously, mobs can't get through it, and they can't destroy it. So unlike doors, if you're on like hard mode and the mobs can break them down, they can't break down ethereal barriers. Pretty cool. Alright, and just remember the keys. If you want somebody else to be able to open your barrier, you're probably going to have to give them a key. Alright, so that's the ethereal barrier. Now we'll move on to this defensive glass. So defensive glass is crafted with glass, glowstone, and then these interesting dusts. So let's set up the recipe, and then I'll talk about these dusts. So this goes down here, this goes in the middle, and then this goes left and right. Okay, so you need void essence, motive dust, and fixation dust in order to craft this. Now how do you get those? You get those from plants. So this is a Luma Lotus. If you look at the tooltip on the right, it's found in frozen climates, so it'll be found in cold, snowy biomes like the tundra. And this is where you get the fixation dust. So you just have to punch it, and you get fixation dust from it. Now, if I go to survival mode and I punch it, I get 1 fixation dust. If you put these in a grinder, you can actually get quite a bit more, and I'm assuming that you would use a shears to get them. Let's see if I'm right. Yes. So you can pick them up with a shears, and if you put them in a rotary craft grinder, you can get 3 fixation dust for each lotus. So I highly recommend it. You'll also need void essence. That comes from these void reeds. I haven't been able to find any, but Shiva says that they rarely spawn in swamps. That's where he found them, but you can grow this. He set up a little farm. I can't actually plant it on this. I wonder if you have to either hoe the ground, or I wonder if it has to be planted by water. Probably does, because I think he planted his by water. Yeah. So you can farm these just like reeds. Looking into the gentle aura gives you a sense of vertigo in space. So if you find these, you can plant them by water at your base, and you can grow them. If you look at the Revolution series, Shiva's got some of these set up by some water at his base location. So if I go into survival mode and I punch it, I get void essence. But just like the other one, if I use a shears, I can pick up the actual reed, and if I place it in a grinder, I can get 3. So I highly recommend that. And then ender flowers. Ender flowers are where you get the motive dust. Now I found these ender flowers in the ender forest biome, so you'll be seeing that on your screen right now. And again, you can punch it to get the motive dust, or you can use a shears to pick up the flower and then throw it in a grinder in order to get 3 instead of 1, which I highly recommend again. Anytime you can get more for less is a good time. So once you've acquired those dusts, you can go ahead and craft some defensive glass, which I think is quite interesting in the way it works. Now, what I'll do is I'll place defensive glass right here. They connect together like like glass. The edges connect together, and it looks like glass, and it's got a neat glow to it. Now, the reason that this is called defensive glass, and the main benefit of it, is that you can actually fire through it. Now, you can fire the standard Minecraft bow through it, and I'm assuming that any sort of weapons from ChromatiCraft will work. Let's see if I can grab that weird gun that me and Shiva were messing with that one time. That weird attack. What's it called? I don't remember. I don't think it's where is it? Oh, this wasn't it this thing? No, it was something. No, there was some sort of weapon that we were messing with, and I forget what it looks like in the thing, but it like fired cool blasts. It was one of the new things. Oh, this is it, the discharge gun. Yeah, so see, that worked. So, various weapons can be fired through the defensive glass by you, but mobs cannot shoot through it. So if you use this for your windows, if you've got like a bunch of skeletons or a bunch of creepers or any sort of mob hanging out outside of your house after the daytime starts, you can fire through your defensive glass and kill them. Now, I can't. I tried this already, but unfortunately, TechGeddon stuff, mostly, because it's a mod, I'm sure, can't fire through. It's a mod, and these mod guns don't recognize this defensive glass. I wonder if there's a config option for the defensive glass to allow other things to pass through it. Probably just because of the projectile type. So that's a no-go there with nuclear death rays and TechGeddon stuff. But it's still cool. I like it. So if you want to utilize these to protect your base from enemies, the Ethereal barrier makes a great replacement for doors, and the defensive glass is good for windows if you want to be able to fire through them. I think also the Ethereal barriers would be quite good, like I've used them here. to block off your casting room from mobs if you don't want them to attack it. It looks neat, and I think it's quite cool. Now I wanted to show you something humorous. Oh yeah, a couple more things before we close the video. Reika mentioned about the Chromic Enchanter a little bit about it, so I wanted to briefly touch on this. The way that the Chromic Enchanter is meant to work is that you can go through this list and you can find multiple mods like Efficiency 3, and then I've got it set to Fortune 3, and you can set them at the same time. Then you can drop a tool in, and it will apply all of the enchantments that you selected at the same time, and it'll keep these settings, so you can put additional tools or weapons in there and keep getting the same enchants. And that weird behavior you saw in the previous video was just because whenever you set these enchantments, if the enchantments are incompatible with the tool or with each other, it won't work. So that's what was happening before. But you can skip all the way to stop it. You can skip all the way up to 5 on both of your enchants as long as you have enough chroma supplied, and you don't have to step up through them. You can set it and keep dropping them in, and until you hit reset, these settings will not go away, which is pretty cool. Also, in enrichment vines, you can actually stack these. So if I stack multiple enrichment vines on top of each other, and then I place, you know, like the oh come on, I thought I had one, and then place like a fertility bloom on top, then it'll gain the speed boosts from multiple enrichment vines, which is pretty sweet. So you can stack these to increase their effects. I still don't know if this has become a primal bloom yet. It doesn't look any different from the other ones, but I'll keep you posted on when this thing turns into a primal bloom. And now I found something quite interesting out in the world, and I think it's quite humorous. So we're gonna cut over there, and I just wanted to show you this real quick. So I was exploring this village, and I saw this. It's a friggin' casting room. But it's a piece of junk casting room, and it's not set up right. And there's like signs on it that are humorous. Couldn't reach, good enough? So he couldn't reach to put this block of coal ore up here when it's supposed to be a block of coal. And it's not built properly, and this one says, "Guys, I think my lapis is broken," which means I think he probably tried to use ice instead of lapis. And they've also got wool over there instead of lapis. And I just thought this was really, really funny. They've got a crafting table in the middle instead of a casting table. There's actually another sign here that apparently got knocked off by the water, which is disappointing because I bet it was pretty funny too. So I've never seen this before, that these villagers have attempted to build a casting room and they've royally screwed it up because they're not smart enough. I just thought that was hilarious. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for future episodes. Like and comment the video if you did enjoy it, and consider joining our Discord if you'd like to chat with us. I'm not there as often as I used to be because I work, but I thank you guys for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy watching the videos. I'm SentinalH, and I'm signing out.